Assalamu alaikum. Today we'll be looking at a review of all the previous videos we've had so far. So we'll start off with looking at video number 1, 2 and 3, and there's an alphabet song in between. So in the lesson number 1 we looked at the actual Arabic alphabet, and in lesson number 2 we looked at the sound of each letter, and in lesson number 3 we looked at the point where the letter comes out of in our mouths. So here we have the Arabic alphabet. They are Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, Dal, Zal, Ra, Za, Sin, Sheen, Sad, Dad, Ta, Dha, Ain, Ghain, Fa, Qaf, Kaf, Lam, Mim, Noon, Ha, Waw, and Ya. And lesson number 2, we looked at the sounds, so it would be A, Ba, Ta, Tha, Ja, Ha, Kha, Da, Dha, Ra, Za, Sa, Sha, Sa, Da, Ta, Dha, A, Gha, Fa, Qa, Ka, La, Ma, Na, Ha, Wa, Ya. And then we looked at the articulation points to see where each letter came from in the mouth. So you can go back and review those videos for each of those. Then we looked at lesson number 4, which was looking at the heavy and light letters. Now, I don't know if you remember, there are 7 that are heavy and 2 more which are heavy, sometimes light, sometimes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's right. Yeah, 7. So the letter Kha, we don't say Kha, we say Kha. It's like raising the back of the tongue. Kha. Then we have Sa, Wa, Ta, Va, Gha. So Gha and Qa. And the letter Ra and Lam, you only do a heavy Ra when you have a Fatha or a Dhamma, and you only do it light when it's a Kasra. Whereas with the letter Lam, it's similar. It's a heavy it's a heavy Lam if it's a Dhamma or a Fatha, and a light when it's a Lam. But in the letter Lam, it's only when the word Allah is concerned. So in any other case, the Lam will always be light. So that was lesson 4. Go back and check out lesson number 4 to remind you of this. So now lesson number 5 was split into 4 parts. So we were looking at the sound of each letter and the name of the letter, whatever they are, and we broke them up into chunks. So the first 7 letters were in lesson number 5, part 1. Then the next 10 letters in part 2. The remaining 12 letters in part 3, and then in part 4 it was a combination of all the letters in random order. So here is an example of letters in random order, and you have to know what they are. So it would be Tha, Sin, Fa, Ya, Ta, Ha, Kaf, Ghain, Dad, Ra, Mim, Va, Ha, Sad, Alif, Dal, Qaf, Ba, Zal, Ain, Sheen, Ta, Lam, Za, Noon, Kha, Waw, Jim. So go back and look at lesson number 5 to remind yourself of what the letters look like. Moving on to lesson number 6, we looked at dots to help you distinguish between all the letters, because if they're so new for you, it can get quite complicated and confusing. So we looked at what the dots look like. So here you can see I've split up the letters into whether they have no dots, if they have 1 dot, 2 and 3 dots. And then we looked at how we could recognize them in this sheet here, which again all can be seen in lesson number 6. So 1 dot on the top would be a Noon, 2 dots on top would be a Ta, 3 dots would be a Tha, and so on. Have a look at lesson number 6 to remind yourself of how we can look at the letter and recognize what it is by the number of dots. Then we looked at lesson number 7, where we learnt to write the Arabic alphabet. And so just have a look, see how you write these letters, if it will help you to recognize the letters or if you need to know how to write them. In lesson number 8, we looked at the letters that don't join. So when you have a word, it all looks all joined up, but within a word there may be some areas where there's a little cut, and we call those the naughty letters. I don't know if you remember, I showed some women holding hands and then not holding hands. That would demonstrate why the letters are joined and then not joined. So here we can look at the letters which were alif, dal, zal, ra, za, and waw. And you can see that within a word, if it's a letter that's one of these letters within the word, the letter after it is not joined. So then we looked at lessons number 9 and 10. Now these are now looking at the letters in their shortened form. So first of all, we looked at how they're joined. Lessons number 9, we looked at letters alif to dad, and then part 2 was ya to ta to ya at the end, and it was looking at how the letters are joined up. And then in lesson number 10, we looked at those same letters in random order. So here we have the letters, how they look at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And you have to recognize them almost as if you're recognizing 4 letters. So the letter ba here, we have the ba in its original form, and then how it looks if it was in the beginning of a word, how it would look at the middle of a word, and how it would look at the end of a word. And that's the same for all the letters. And we have going for, as you can see, all the letters. Okay, so now we looked at lesson numbers 11, 12, 13, 14. This was the start of now looking at the symbols to help you recognize a word, how to read a letter. So if the letter was a ba, for example, do we say ba? Do we say boo? Do we say b? That's where we looked at these symbols. Now, the symbols on their own are called short vowels. So lesson number 11 was just an introduction to it. Then lessons 12, 13, and 14, we broke it down. So this is the short vowels. So it is the fatha, which is a straight line on the top of the line. The dhamma, which is like a speech symbol, but one of them. And that is on the top as well, and that's oo sound. And then the kasra is underneath the line, and that's the e sound. So lesson number 12, we looked at just the fatha, and we have all the words that would have just the fatha. So you'd have la, ba, sa, ma, na, a, ha, ma, da, ra, fa, fa, and so on. So take a look at lesson number 12 to remind you of how to use fatha in the word. Lesson number 13, we then introduced some of the kasra symbol. So we now have la, bi, sa. So we're now doing the e sound. A, li, ma, li, ki, wa, li, ya. And then lesson number 14, we introduced the dhamma. So here we would have ku, ti, ba, ru, fi, a, mu, ni, a, su, hu, fi, and so on. So go back and check lesson number 14 for that. In lesson 15, 16, and 17, we introduced tanween, which is where we have the same symbol, fatha, dhamma, kasra, but this time 2 of them. So here we have 2 fathas would be called fathatan, 2 dhammas would be called dhammatan, and 2 kasras would be called kasratan. And basically it would be un, where we're bringing the letter n, or the sound n, into this word. Un would still have a n at the end, in would still have a n at the end. So go back and check lessons 15, 16, and 17 for that. And you can see here then, so lesson 15, we looked at the fathatan. So it's here, na, sa, ban. So we're now bringing in the un sound here. A, ja, ban. قصصا نارا. And lesson number 16, we looked at the in sound, kasratan, la, ha, bin, ala, qin, a, ha, din, ta, ba, qin, and so on. And then lesson number 17 was the dhammatan, so qa, sa, mun, su, ru, run, a, ha, dun, hu, mu, run, and so on. And then we had lesson 18. We looked at the long and the difference between the long and short vowels. So what makes a long vowel, what makes a short vowel. And then in lesson number 19, we broke those up individually. So here we have the long vowel. So before it was just the a fatha by itself, but when we introduce an alif next to it, it changes from a to a. Instead of I for kasra, with a ya added to it, it becomes e. And with a dhamma and a waw followed by it, it becomes oo. So short vowel was a, long vowel a. Short vowel I becomes e if it's long, and short vowel dhamma u becomes oo if it's long. And then in lesson number 19, we took the first one, which was alif with a fatha with an alif, and we looked at the individual words that change with the long vowel included in the word. So here, if you remember in lesson number 19, we looked at how important it is not to ignore that alif or that ya or that waw that's included in the word, because it's the difference between here where you have the same wa, la, dun in both, but in one there's an alif after a fatha and in the other one there isn't. The wa, la, dun means boy, with the wa, la, dun means father. So that alif is very important because it changes the meaning of the word. So don't ignore it. And that was lesson number 19. The lesson number 19 on individually, to look at the words how they look, we have nasin, not nasin, it's nasin, narun, idha, naran, and so on. So check out lesson number 19 for that. And then the next lesson to come will then be the kasra or the ya for the e sounds, which inshallah I will start soon. And so that is just a recap of the lessons we've had so far. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.